First off, I want to apologize. Got a guy weed eating, so just bear with the noise while it's here. I believe when you write about some things, especially when it's handwritten, I believe you give them power. And there are a few stories I've chosen to keep kind of secret just because I don't want to give them any kind of power, I guess. And the one I'm going to tell you today is one of those. After it happened, it really fucked me up in a bad fucking way. And I couldn't talk about it. Like, I alluded to it, but I couldn't flat out say it. I just couldn't bring myself to. Until about 2 years after it happened. Then I actually came out and talked about it. But I've never done it at length like this, except in my book. So I figured, fuck it. Here's the story about the time I got genital herpes. And for reasons which should be clear by now, I changed the name of the girlfriend in this story. We're going to call her Allison. In early 2007, I transferred from a Blockbuster store from South Carolina to Garland, Texas. And I loved the store in South Carolina. Those people were like my family. And they were there for me a lot, and I missed them dearly. And the situation at this new store just wasn't the same at all, and I was fucking up pretty bad. And it was just time to move on, is what I'm saying. And a customer who I always bitched about Blockbuster too, she also worked for the company before, so she knows how it was. We commiserated. And she said, look, if you're really that fucking down about being here, just go. We've got a data entry position open at my work. I'll put in a good word for you. Apply here. Get out of here. You hate it, so do something else. And I did. And during one of the interviews, which there was like 2 or 3, I think, I was in the lobby, and one of the doors opened, because since it dealt with medical documents, everything had to be locked for HIPAA laws. And the door clicked open, and out walked this girl who just struck me. Like, it was just one of those, wow. Like, I'm sure music was playing and doves were flying off, but they were black doves because this chick was dark. She was wearing a Social Distortion hoodie in this busy office environment. Like, it just, something about that was very sexy to me. And she had black hair, which I'm also a fan of. Just a real dark, this chick's gonna be bad for you kind of vibe. So I immediately wanted the job, and I eventually got it. And a month later, they set me at my desk, and I'm looking, and right across from me, there's a cubicle, and it's filled with comic book shit. Like, there's Ninja Turtle figurines and even a Wolverine piece or two, which was awesome. And she had this Venom stuff. It was amazing. And I was like, and they set me right across from this person. I was like, awesome, I have someone to talk about comics to. This is gonna be fantastic. And there were also balloons all around, meaning my first day at work was also this person's birthday. And then she finally came and sat down, and it was the girl that I checked out previously. And she was sitting like 6 feet across, and she was in the comics. It just, anytime in my situation when it looks like fate, I need to run the fuck away, but I never do. So we never said a word to each other. And I went to Walmart one day, and they had this toy machine filled with Marvel characters, and I put my money in. Venom came out. She liked Venom. So I had it sitting on her desk when she came in, and she looked at it, picked it up, and she was like, where the fuck did this come from? She looks over, and I said, I didn't know what to get you for your birthday. Sorry it's late. And she looked at me like I was the biggest stalker in the world. I'm like, I've only been here a week and I'm already leaving creepy trinkets on her desk. This is not a good, I don't want to be that guy, you know? So I kept my distance. And eventually she found me on MySpace, which is where I originally started posting my writings. And she read the story about the first time I finger banged somebody. And she left like a message saying, like, I didn't know you were that dirty. Like, you've never talked to me. You don't know me at all. And we just started talking on MySpace. And eventually we started talking on Gmail at work, talking like all day long to each other. And we sit like right next. And one day she had to leave early. And she came back and I said, is everything all right? And she said, I've been to the doctor. It's feminine stuff. I don't want to talk about it. And then a little bit later, we went on a date, which was really awkward, and I didn't think she liked me at all. And I still don't. Ended. We said our goodbyes. Then one time she came over to watch a movie, which we did, and we never agreed on anything. Like, we had complete opposite tastes, but one band we had in common was New Found Glory. So I put Coming Home, which was a CD out at the time, on repeat. And we just listened to that. Next thing I know, we're making out. And gradually we started a relationship. And the second time she came over, we were making out and she said, wait, I can't. I said, look, I'm not trying to pressure you. You say no, it's done. I won't start again. Like, don't do anything you're not ready for. She's like, no, it's not that I don't want this. It's just that, and she paused and she goes, it's such a funny word. And just the vulnerability in that statement broke my heart. And she said, in my last encounter, I got genital herpes. I understand if you don't want to be a part of this. I just need to let you know. And I asked if she still talked to the guy that gave it to her. She said no. And I said, fine, we'll deal with it together. It's all I needed. I'm there for you. And then a few weeks later, she moves in with, she was getting a new roommate. She asked if I was uncomfortable with her living with a man. And I said, has anything ever happened between you? She says, no, not at all. He's 40. That's gross. I said, then move in with him. I'm not the jealous type. Go for it. And over time, she became very cold and just insulting and gradually broke my confidence down. And I was there for her, like I said I would. Like, she wasn't alone dealing with it. And I was looking in the shower. I was in the shower and I was looking down, and like, despite the friendships I've had, my dick and I are best friends. We're like this. And I looked down at him and I was like, what's up today, buddy? And I saw an outbreak there. And my world just fell the fuck down. I went to work and just couldn't function. Like, it hadn't really even set in yet. So I went to her house that night. My car was broken down, so I had to stay there at night. I was stuck, basically. And she was kissing on my neck, trying to instigate some action. I said, I can't. I got it. I'm having an outbreak. And she rolls over and said, well, that sucks. And that was it. That was all I fucking got. And I was speechless. And I was staring at the ceiling. And the only thing that popped in my head was a typical macho male bullshit thing to say at that point. And I said, if I ever find the dude that gave this to you, I'm going to fucking kill him. And she turns over and she goes, yeah, see, the thing about that is you kind of already have. And her eyes went up and I followed them past the wall, past the living room, into the bedroom belonging to your fucking roommate gave this to you? She goes, yes, calm down. Just, yes. And I was flabbergasted because she lied about the guy that gave it to her and nothing happening with the roommate, which were the only reasons I was okay about pursuing something with her. Because whenever it comes to an STD that has no cure, you kind of have to be careful and know it's something you want. And then she goes, you know, I could have sworn last time we were having sex I had an outbreak. I guess I was. It's like, you didn't even fucking tell me that? Like, whenever it comes to this, condoms only do so much. All it takes is skin on skin contact and you're fucked, you know? And I was so angry, I started fucking shaking. And I've never, ever hit a woman in my life. Ever. But I've also never wanted to hit one as bad as I was in that moment. Like, I just wanted to strangle her with her own arm. I was so angry, but I kept my cool. And then she rolls over and she puts her arm on me. And I said, don't fucking touch me right now. And she said, if it makes you feel any better, we work things out. And I said, what, you and him? She goes, yeah. I said, I don't give a fuck about you and him. This is about us right now. And we're not fixed. And she goes, let me get this straight. Are you mad that I was with him or mad that I lied about it? And I said, that's my list, because those are starting points, Missy. Like, that doesn't even scratch the surface of why I'm so enraged right now. And she's like, whatever. And she rolls over and goes the fuck to sleep. And the next day at work, she sent me a little IM that said, we're the diseased couple now. Saw that, I got upset. She's like, oh, was it too soon? And she would send me links to sites that sold plushed animals of STDs. And she's like, I'm going to get you the herpes one for Christmas. It's like, fucking really? Really? None of that compassion that I gave her at all. And that went on for months. And it was just, I got a new car. I was working 2 jobs. I had to go back to Blockbuster, so I was working close to 120 hours a week. And I was just tired and beaten the fuck down. And then in March or late February, she finally ended it. And I didn't know how to cope because I felt worthless. Like, no one's gonna want me now. I'm ruined. I'm ruined. There's no way past this at all. And she would come up behind me and talk to her friend about all the guys she's dating and how happy she is to get rid of me and posting shit like that on MySpace. And then she sits 6 fucking feet away from me all day. And I never made a sound. I never lashed out. All I would do was sit there and cry. Just tears down my fucking face silently. And no one would ask if I was okay. Like, no one gave a fuck. And finally I went to my boss's office and told her the entire story, told her everything that happened. And she didn't have my best interest at heart. So I learned later from a guy that shared a wall with her that during this time she would call Allison, her friend, and 2 of her cronies, and they were trying to find ways to make me snap, like, okay, go behind him more, talk louder, just be really happy, trying to find ways to get me fucking fired. So I had to deal with that for a couple of months, and she would go off and start these relationships with guys, and whenever it didn't work with them because of what she had, she would come back to me, we'd have sex, and then once she got that out of her system, she would ignore me again. And this went on for months. And again, I never did anything to anybody. I just cried. And then I finally got my insurance and tried to go get help. And the woman, I hated her. Like, the first question she asked is what my religious views are. And I said, if anything, I would have to be agnostic and not atheist. I'm kind of on the fence between the two. I'm still figuring that shit out. There's no easy way to answer that question. And she's like, well, I'm a Christian, so since you don't believe that way, I don't know if I can help you out. And I started talking to her, and she would make me feel stupid for the things I said. And she gave me homework that was Bible-oriented, which I never fucking did. And I got 3 free sessions with her, and on the 3rd session, I was hysterical. I was crying. That's all I did for the entire fucking hour was just cried violently, and she didn't say a word. And then when our time was up, she said, I can't help you anymore unless you're willing to pay for it, but you got issues, I'm sending you to a psychiatrist, which for those of you that don't know, they can prescribe medication, which is doctors love to fucking do. I said, alright. So I'm still crying, and I just want to see my little brothers because I love them, and they make me happy. And I went to my dad's, and he was on me immediately. And my stepmom showed him a story that I posted on MySpace. And hold on, I gotta text my mom and let her know where I am. And in one of those stories, I said regarding romantic relationships, my dad was not the best person to look up to, essentially. And he took that to mean he was a worthless father, and he started like telling me what a worthless son I've been, and I'm grateful, and how all the sacrifices he made and all this other shit. Just a 30-minute yell fest, essentially. And at that point, it was the last thing I needed. So I remember leaving his house, and I was doing 65, I think it was, and a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit because I was just a mess. Got home, sat in my bathtub, put the razor to my wrist, and was arguing with a voice in my head telling me to break the skin. So I realized I needed help, and that's also, I went, right after this happened, I went to see that psychiatrist. I told him fucking everything. And he said that I was paranoid, schizophrenic, and a whole litany of other professional diagnosis. And he put me on antipsychotics. Which, if you don't think that word alone messes with somebody's head, you got another thing coming. And the pills were $65 for a week's supply, and they were making me sick. I was vomiting. I didn't know how to handle them, and he wouldn't answer my calls. And then finally, that's whenever I checked into the hospital. I've already told the story of that first night. And the entire time, like, leading up to this, I just asked if I could get my desk moved. I was like, just let me move my fucking desk, please. I can't be that close. And the CEO's daughter said that it's against company policy to let people switch their desks. If they let me, then anyone will do it. And while I was in the mental hospital, I saw like 4 different doctors on 4 different occasions, meaning they never had any kind of rapport with me. Like, so there was no way, like, with therapy, you have to have a relationship with that person in order to help them. And if you're just a name on a chart and you've got a whole list of ones you need to get through so you can leave, it's not the best mindset to help people that are struggling. He goes, what can I do for you before you leave? Like, just tell me what you need and we'll see what we can do. And I said, can you write me a doctor's note to get my desk moved at work? He's like, sold. Wrote it up. Davlin needs to have his desk moved to protect his mental health, and he signed it on a prescription pad. And I went in there, slapped that on the desk, and I said, I'm taking Friday off because I got off on Thursday. I said, I'm taking tomorrow off. I'll see you on Monday. This needs to be done. And it did. I came in that Monday, and it was moved. But it was right next to the kitchen, so I always saw her coming and going, which wasn't really any better. But it messed me up bad. And the stigma that's attached to it and the way people react to that stigma is worse than the disease itself. And the recovery of it was another long story. I just wanted to tell you my experience of how I got it. And there you go, I'm exhausted. Alright, thanks for listening.